All right, guys, this is your review for quiz 3. We're starting with problem number 1. We have 2y plus 28 over 4 equals 8 minus 5y plus 29 over 3. And what we want to do first is each of these expressions, we want to rewrite them with our common denominator. So this fraction that we see here with the 2y plus 28 over 4, and then this whole number, that's the one I want you all to make a little adjustment to create a fraction with 8 over 1. And then we're going to get common denominators. So we want each of these fractions to be rewritten with our common denominator of 12. To make this 4 a 12, we have to multiply it times 3. So that means we must also multiply that numerator times 3. So we got to distribute 3 times 2y. That'll give us 6y. And then that 3, we have to multiply times 28 as well. That'll give us 84 equals. And to make the 1 a 12, we have to multiply times 12, all right? So that means we also must multiply 8 times 12 in the numerator. That gives us 96 minus the 3, we have to multiply times 4. So we have to distribute here 4 times 5y and then 4 times the 29. That'll give us 20y. And then the 29 times 4, that'll give us 116. Now, from there, we can actually eliminate our denominator and just rewrite this expression using the numerators only. So we want to rewrite just our numerators, right? We're eliminating the denominator. We'll have 6y plus 84 equals 96. And it's minus this entire expression. So you have to apply that minus sign to the 20y. It'll be minus 20y. And then minus 116. From there, you want to combine like terms. So 96 minus that 116. That'll give us negative 20. And then we'll carry down the minus 20y. But that 20y we can actually combine with the 6y. So we're actually going to go ahead and add 20y to both sides of this equation. All right, so that'll give us 6y plus 20y. That'll give us 26y plus 84 equals, and this negative 20. So from here, we want to subtract 84 and then divide by 26. So subtract 84 from both sides, and that'll give us negative 104 equals, the 84 is a cancel out, 26y. And then we want to divide by 26, both sides of this equation. So we cancel out the 26. 26 goes into 104. Actually, that's a negative 104, negative 4 times. So this will be our solution. Y equals negative 4. For number 2, we want to remember this little caveat. We wrote here this note for ourselves that if you multiply or divide by a negative number, when you're working with these inequalities, you have to reverse that symbol. So if you have a less than, you got to change it to greater than. If you have a greater than, change it to less than. So our 2 inequalities we just wrote down here because after we solve the inequalities, we need to graph them on a number line. So we're going to solve the first one by adding 1 to both sides of this inequality. And then we're going to divide by 3. So we'll get 3x less than or equal to 3. Or let's add 3 to both sides of the second inequality. We'll get 3x greater than or equal to 9. And then let's divide both sides by 3. So we'll get x greater than or equal to 3. to graph this inequality on the number line, we will go up here to our number line at 3, and we're going to place a closed circle at 3. So remember, if your symbol is less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, you should have a closed circle. And then we need to shade. Our arrows pointing to the right, right? X is greater than or equal to that 3. So we're going to shade to the right of positive 3. So that's the graph of our second inequality on the right. On the left side, we'll go ahead and complete this. Divide both sides of the inequality by 3. We'll get X less than or equal to positive 1. Now we want to graph this on a number line. We want to go up to 1 and draw a closed circle. And X is less than or equal to 1, so we're going to shade to the left. This is the direction of negative infinity. So this will be our graph for that inequality on the right, okay? So we've solved it, we got our graph. Let's look at the next example. Now this is a word problem. It says Jamie drove to the mountain last weekend and there was heavy traffic on the way there, so the trip took 7 hours. But on the return trip, it took only 6 hours because it was less traffic. Now, the average rate was 12 miles per hour faster on the route home, because you see it took a little less time to get there. How far away does Jamie live from the mountain? So we want to look at our distance formula. Remember, distance is equal to rate times time. So we wrote 2 equations, one for the distance there. And remember, the distance there, he traveled for 7 hours. We don't know how fast he was going, so we used R to represent the rate for the trip there. On the way home, he drove 12 miles faster than the way there. So we took that rate that we used for the way there, and then we added 12 to it. Since his rate was a little bit faster, it was 12 miles faster. This is the rate for the route home, and the travel time for the route home was 6 hours. Now, the distance for both of these trips, there and home, was the same. So that's why we're able to take these 2 expressions, 7R, and set them equal to each other, the 6 times R plus 12. We need to distribute, and we're going to get the rate once we complete this equation. So 6 times R, we want to distribute that 6 to both terms in that equation. So when we distribute 6 times R, we got 6R, 6 times 12, we'll get 72. And then equals, carry down our 7R on the left. To solve this, let's subtract 6R from both sides of the equation. Subtract 6R. 7R minus 6R gives us R. And over here, the 6 R's are going to cancel on the right side, leaving 72. So the rate is 72. And this is how many, this is the miles per hour that was traveled. Now, the question asks us for the distance. We want to know how far away that distance is. So to get the distance, you can go back to either of these expressions, either the distance there or the distance home, because they're going to be the same. We'll just use the first one, which was D equals 7R. And now that we know the rate is 72, we'll just substitute that 72 here and multiply 7 times 72 to get our distance. So the distance of that mountain, that trip that we took, we're plugging that in, is 504. All right, so that's the answer to the word problem. The second word problem we want to look at is the length of a rectangle is 6 yards more than the 3 times that width, and the perimeter of the rectangle is 92. So for this one, we use our perimeter formula here. P equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And the expression that we were given for the length is that it is 6 yards more than 3 times the width. So 6 yards more, we add 6 to 3 times the width. That whole expression, 3W plus 6. our width, we just use W. Now, in our perimeter formula, we went ahead and substituted for the length, we substituted 3W plus 6. And then for the width, we have W, so 2W. We need to distribute 2 times the 3W, 2 times the 6. So we get 6W plus 12, carry down the 2W on the end. And we'll also carry down the 92. Remember, we were given perimeter in our equation. Now we want to solve this equation so we can combine these like terms. 6W plus 2W gives us 8W. And let's subtract 12W from, or 12 from both sides of the equation. And 92 minus 12 will give us 80. We solve this, divide both sides by 8, and we'll get the width is equal to 10. Now to find the length, we'll go back to our expression 3W plus 6. We'll substitute 10 for our width. So 3 times the 10 plus 6. That'll be 36. And that's the answer to this word problem. All right, the next problem we want to look at deals with solving inequality. And anytime you have to solve inequalities, we want to be able to refer back to our little caveat that if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to reverse the symbol. So look here, we distribute first 7 times x, that gives us 7x, 7 times the minus 3, that gives us negative 21, and then we carry down the 8. Greater than or equal to negative 2, we carry down our 8x as well. We combine like terms by subtracting 8x from both sides. And 7x minus 8x, that gives us negative 1x down here. All right, so negative 1x is what we should have, negative 1x. I see we have one errors that we need to correct here. So negative 1x, 7x minus 8x gives us negative 1x. All right, and when we combine our terms over on the left side, negative 21 plus 8, that gives us negative 13. So we add 13 to both sides, we'll get positive 11. But when we divide positive 11 by negative 1, that forces us to reverse this symbol. So we change it from greater than or equal to less than or equal to, and it should be equal to negative 11. This is the solution, and this is the last problem. Good luck on quiz 3.